Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
And we've got 35 seconds.
I just took a sip of water.
Good. I should probably do the same. I'll probably spill it though. Okay. See? Did you hear that? It
Yeah,
fell.
hey, there's no visual radio.
Live radio. We are live. Okay, we've got 9 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Bettina's Buzz here on SantaCruzVoice.com. It's another great Saturday. I always love sharing my Saturday mornings with everybody here on SantaCruzVoice.com. I'm Bettina McBee. You're listening to Bettina's Buzz, and it was a bit of a cloudy drive into Santa Cruz this morning, but it's still always a great drive coming into Santa Cruz. I always look forward to it. And this Saturday, I'm very thrilled to have on the line with me a very special friend and a wonderfully intelligent and wonderful woman. On the line with me, I have Miss Blanca Estela Zarazua. Good morning, Blanca.
Buenos dias. Good morning.
Buenos dias. How are you?
Thrilled to be here, really, because I'm here with you and so many other fine people I have yet to meet.
And you will be meeting all of us. Well, let me tell all the listeners, Blanca, I first met you several years ago through chamber events that I was always going to, and I had the pleasure of meeting Blanca, who is an attorney. She is an attorney, a lawyer specializing in immigration, and she is also the Honorable Consul of Mexico for the counties of Monterey and Santa Cruz.
Indeed. I just celebrated 20 years as Honorary Consul of Mexico last year, and it's a non paid position. And I've celebrated 36 years as a lawyer. Um, According to the State Bar of California, I am licensed to practice law.
And you're licensed to be a wonderful guest with us this morning. Tell us, Blanca, share with us your background in growing up.
Oh boy, there's so much to share. I was such a grateful child, and I am now a grateful adult. I had a very privileged background in every regard except for economic. Uh, Excuse me, which is the least of my concerns always. I was privileged to have wonderful parents, to live in a supportive community, and to be able to develop myself through formal education. I think that that is still quite a privilege. And the quality of the education you get can vary from community to community. And so I was born in Monterey County. My sisters were born in Monterey County, the three of us. But my father came from Guanajuato, Mexico to the U.S. in 1945 to work as a bracero or guest worker out in Chular, this bustling metropolis just south of Salinas. And he became buddies with the cook at the labor camp who was from Jalisco. My father was from Guanajuato. And he ended up traveling to Jalisco. And before you know it, my dad proposed to my mother, who was the cook's daughter. And so we come from a culinary background. Um, my and that's how it all started. My father ended up working in the artichoke fields of Carmel Valley, which are now golf courses. Quail Lodge was a golf course. Rancho Cañada was a golf course before it was a park, but it was artichoke fields before
Artichoke
then.
fields, yes.
Yeah, Quail Lodge, artichoke fields. And my father actually worked on the Odelo Ranch, just going south of Rio Road in Carmel towards Big Sur. And there's some little red farm worker houses there that you can see. And we lived in those homes. And so it was a very humble beginning. And that's why I'm always so grounded and really thinking about what got me to wherever I am. I think we tend to forget. You're kind of like swimming in success and enjoying the comforts of, heating and hot water and all the rest of it. And you forget. I don't. I never forget what brought me there and the tremendous struggles that other people have undergone just for me to be where I am now, with the luxury of freedom through education, to make certain decisions on my own, to say, no, Bank of America, I'm leaving the 45th floor of the B of A building in San Francisco. I'm going to go on to something else. And so through education and preparation and a lot of hard work, you have a certain level of freedom. And so I used to clean homes with my mother. I've got to tell you the story because it's so fabulous. And my mother worked with this one gentleman for 25 years. And he passed a couple of years ago. And a girlfriend called me and said, Blanca, you and your mom were in the program for the Cal State Monterey Bay graduation ceremony. I said, what? She said, yes, because this gentleman donated a huge sum to the university. And he said that his inspiration was my mother and me, because I became an attorney. And so these are the types of stories that really are not unusual. I mean, they're wonderful, but I hope I'm not the exception. And I know that I'm not the exception. I know there are many families out there struggling, and first generation people who go to college, first person in their family to go to college, etc. The three of us all went to college. And my father always said, if you educate a woman, you educate a family. And so education was high on our list in terms of what we spent our time doing.
One thing that really drew me to you, Blanca, when we first met was how highly you spoke of your father, because I too have a very close bond and miss my father very much, and he was crucial and a strong role model in my upbringing. So again, that was something that really attracted me to you. And tell me, how do you feel your father inspired you to become a lawyer?
In so many ways. I think that my father, and having studied music, classical music, both were the key elements to my formation. I'll start with the easy one, which is music. It teaches you velocity, volume, intonation, things that you need in your daily life in terms of communicating with people. It teaches you how to listen. Everybody's on a screen now, so there's no need to listen. And so many people don't know how to listen or just don't care to. And my father taught me sensory skills because he had no formal education. And so I had to revert to other ways of communicating with him, which were just wonderful. And I think a lot of young people now may be missing out on that. As I said, he was a gentleman and a gentleman, both. And for me, I mean, the true macho who always communicated sensitive thoughts, was not shy about crying, was very steadfast in his principles. And I think all of that really rubbed off on me. And I was just so happy that I made him laugh. And
That's an important thing. That's important.
Yeah, no, it's important because then you're connecting on a different level. And I do believe I made him very proud. And as I say, as people get older, they don't need a second house in Bakersfield or a brand new truck. They need intangibles. They need to know that all the hard work was worth it, that it was for something for the future. And I think I did that job very well. I think my father knew that he had planted quite a robust seed in me. And I hope to inspire others to follow what I have, which are his teachings. I think my true inheritance are my parents' principles, values, way of thinking, way of feeling. I tell people, your mind and your heart do not need to be mutually exclusive. You can use both of them. They're conferring all the time. I feel something, I start thinking about how to address it. I think of something, well, I consult with the heart to make sure I'm approaching everything strategically, but with sensitivity. And so I hope people learned that some people are very intelligent, but they don't have a lot of sensitivity, and vice versa. And thanks to the fact that my mother was, I jokingly say she was Jalisco military. I mean, she was such a disciplinarian and stop talking, let's get to work. And then my dad was so philosophical and sensitive, and he'd probably have Charles Manson over for tacos. Like, how many people did you kill? That's okay. Come on in, no problem. Because he was such a passionate, forgiving guy. And so it was a great mix. They were married 55 years, and I took care of my father for 16 years and my mother for 10. And it's tough. I don't have children, but I'm sure it's just like having children, where it's a tough job, but it's so satisfying that you wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, you wouldn't trade it for anything. And I know your father, both your parents, of course, are extremely proud of you, Blanca. Tell us, share with us where your educational journeys have taken you. I know you've gone to, well, I have a whole list here, but you start me off. Where did you start your studies, your higher educational studies?
Uh, well, I don't know. Well, higher, that's a relative term now. College.
Especially in Santa Cruz, but okay.
No, college was in Southern California, Claremont colleges. I saw my parents struggling with English. English was my second language. I started speaking Spanish for years until I began school, but I saw them struggling with English, and I thought language is a very, very important skill. And so when I was still in Carmel Valley at Tulorcitos, I started taking French. And then in Los Angeles, I took French, Spanish, and Italian. And Spanish, because we come from a farm worker family, you sort of speak vernacular Spanish. Most parents are not um, experienced with formal education. And I thought, I want to be in the high level places of Spanish speaking countries. And that means I need to prepare myself. And their Spanish was accurate, but the vocabulary was very limited. And so I said, I'm going to study Spanish literature. I'm just going to prepare myself as much as possible to be credible, competent, and polished in Spanish, not just English. And I did. And so that was Claremont. I went to the Claremont colleges. And then I went to UC Berkeley and got my MBA and started becoming interested in tax. In fact, I was a certified tax specialist as a lawyer for 20 years and did that. In between my 2 years at Berkeley, I was in Washington, D.C. at the Peace Corps headquarters doing marketing feasibility studies.
Who was an instructor? Yes, who was an instructor that you can tell us that was a a good role model or instrumental in helping you through your studies at any point?
At Berkeley or?
Well, at Berkeley, yeah, we'll start with Berkeley.
Well, Berkeley was a challenge because it's a very, at that time, it was a very quantitative school. And I had not had quantitative classes in college. In fact, in high school, I ended up going to MPC because I ran out of classes and my brain was idle. And so I ended up taking trigonometry and astronomy while I was still in high school. And I just said, my brain needs more. So I ended up going to community college while I was still in high school. And in Berkeley, and so it was very challenging because there were very, very competitive people with quantitative skills. And I had a very hard time the first year where I was getting threatening letters from the dean. If you don't clean it up, you're out of here, your scholarship, blah, blah, blah. And so I sat there in front of Sproul Plaza with my pink Burberry. I refused to wear a beige one. It was my sign of rebellion. I'm going to go pink. And I said, this is it. You either do it or you fold, and I did. I did it. I got out of there. Professor Nicosia was great in marketing. I think marketing would have been my other emphasis, but I decided to do my thesis in tax. And then after that, I attended Santa Clara Law School and was very good at speaking. I won moot court competition for best oral advocate. I took my parents who didn't speak any English, so it was beyond ironic. I think the presenters could barely pronounce my last name. It was hysterical. But I just use humor to get through things. I don't stress over, I'm not a fragile person. Like I say, I take rejection really well. And so go ahead, say no to me. I'll just keep trying. I mean, I'm very,
Because you've had a lot of rejection, Blanca. Is that
oh,
why you take it well?
that's right. But that's okay. That's okay. As long as you're tenacious like I am. I mean, I had a tax case that lasted 17 years. 17 years. IRS thought I was going to flake or go away. I don't think so. And we came out with a very, very good resolution where the clients supposedly owed $1.4 million. And we ended up having to pay only $23,000. And the lady was beside herself. He died in the process. It was a couple, but I mean, it took so long that he
Well,
never saw.
17 years.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous. The ugliest side of bureaucracy. One of them is IRS, but we've got ICE and DHS now to be great competitors in that field. But anyway, so that's what I did there at Berkeley and in law school. And then my last semester of law school, I was on law review. The editor recommended me to work for one of the Supreme Court justices, California Supreme Court justices. So my last semester, I worked in San Francisco at the California Supreme Court.
What was that like? How did you like that?
It was the best part was the two things, actually. I got a private swearing in with the judge because he said, "This is ridiculous. You haven't been sworn in and you could make more money." And I was backed up because it was the new immigration law that came in 86, 87, and the FBI was backed up on fingerprinting, so they couldn't get to my fingerprints. And my whole class had a swearing in, and I couldn't be there because I hadn't gotten my check, FBI check. And then he said, "This is ridiculous." So we had a private swearing in. I remember that song. It's my party, and I'll cry if I want.
1, 2. I know that song.
Yeah, no, it was just so symbolic. It was generations of hard work. It wasn't one family or one person. It was, cumulative. It was just something that had been built up through different struggles within the family, different generations. So it was just very, very powerful for me. And I certainly don't take all the credit for it. I mean, my parents, my family, everybody makes it happen or doesn't. And so I did that. And then I became an attorney, a tax law attorney with Bank of America for 4 years. And at night, I went to Golden Gate University and got my LLM, which is an advanced tax law degree. But, by the time I was 32, it was my last exam. I was really on the brink. Is anybody else going to poke me to see how dumb I am? And so after all that schooling, I was like, get me out of here. No, that was my last degree. Although, I'm so crazy. I've contemplated some other type of degree, in Mexico or something. But I've since, discarded that. But I've been through a lot of technical, demanding programs. I really have. So in law school, actually, I attended Oxford University. There was a program through the law school, so I was able to go there, and that was the best academic experience I've ever experienced.
At Oxford.
It was just fabulous. I was the dumbest person there, and I love that. I don't want to be the smartest person. I have nothing to learn, and I'm a great student. I'm not a great teacher. And so I loved it. Like I say, I don't
You loved being the dumbest person there.
Yes, because I don't mind rejection as long as I'm learning. I don't care. It's fine if you need to correct me. Please do. And now people, if you just say, you might want to do this, they'll never talk to you ever again.
I don't mind being corrected either. Who wants to be wrong?
Well, you want to be nice, not accurate, I guess. I don't know. But I correct young people as much as I can. And I tell them, I want you to shine. But they forget that phrase. They're still recovering from the fact that somebody actually tried to find
them.
Yeah.
Someone actually spoke to them. That's what we're gonna take a quick break, Blanca.
Okay.
Speaking of that, the parking lot was speaking to me. You can't park here.
Uh-oh.
I was like, God, what's happening? Anyway, we'll be right back on Bettina's Buzz.
Deer fence, wood fence, livestock chain link, vinyl, iron fence, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
I'm Kevin Donovan, the owner of Cypress Coast Fence, Monterey Bay Area's premier fence company.
And I'm Katie Donovan, Kevin's sister. I'm one of the project coordinators. I'll help you choose the best fence for your needs, and I'll be with you for every step of the project.
We work with local suppliers and employ quality craftsmen to build the right fence to secure, protect, or privatize your property. We've been in business for 15 years and have been voted best fence company for 7 years running.
Give us a call for your no-obligation consultation at 831-783-1500 or at cypresscoastfence.com.
We don't just build fences, we make good neighbors.
Deer fence, wood fence, livestock chain link, vinyl, iron fence, Cypress Coast Fence, Cypress Coast Fence.
Hi, folks. How many of you out there love to garden? Wouldn't it be nice to grow some of your own food? Or maybe a flower garden would brighten your day. All you need is the Knox Garden Box, a heavily constructed, portable, elevated garden on legs that can virtually change the way you've gardened in the past. The Knox Garden Box can be set up anywhere. Yes, you can place it right on concrete at knoxgardenbox.com. That's Knox, gardenbox.com.
About that first impression. Hi, this is Bettina McBee from Bettina's Buzz on SantaCruzVoice.com. And that first impression is my business card created by Dynamic Press. It is my favorite business card. It gets everybody's attention right away. If you want to make a good first impression, get your business cards and any printed media at Dynamic Press. And tell Angelo Bettina sent you. And you're back with Bettina's Buzz. Michael didn't tell me that commercial was playing. I liked making that commercial, Blanca. That was fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was me giving the commercial for Dynamic Press. We have a really great business card, our Santa Cruz Voice business card. I have to make sure you get one.
Okay, sure.
So on the line with us, listeners, is Blanca Zarazua, which she's an attorney at law, and her specialty is immigration law. And she's also the Honorary Consul of Mexico for the counties of Monterey and Santa Cruz. Thank you for being with us, Blanca.
No, thank you for the invitation.
And you're never the dumbest person in the room, ever.
Well, I challenge you to that. I have to. Great. It's wonderful. I'm looking for more opportunities like that.
Come sit in the control booth with me and have they have the, I was saying I pulled in and, we have this great location we're located. Blanca, it's fairly new to us. It's CTV Media Digital Media Studios. And anyway, the parking lot, because you're only supposed to park in here if you're swank like us, right? And so I hear this voice saying, you can't park here unless you belong to. So I'm like, where is this coming from? I'm holding my key up to the, God, I'm supposed to be here. It's the funniest thing.
Oh, my.
Technology. But anyway, young people and technology and learning and not being afraid to be the dumbest person in the room. We learn more that way, don't we?
Yes, and we're open to learning more because we start with a really healthy premise. That you're not smart. You're not all that smart, so we're here to learn.
Yeah, we have to know how to laugh at ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Blanca, share with us some stories, if you can, if you will, about families, people you have helped with their immigration status or laws with immigration that you can help them with.
I will. If I may, I'd like to just briefly touch on a couple of cases I had as honorary consul, which is different, where the person has an attorney and I come in as a diplomat to assist the attorney as best I can. And so we had one case out in Greenfield many years ago where a young lady had delivered a baby in a porta potty. And thankfully, the baby survived. But that was a very difficult case, as you can imagine, from a PR perspective, trying to get people to listen and not just look at the final result and say, oh, what a witch, or terrible person, and understand a little bit more about the context. And so much of it is confidential. And so many interviews that I gave, I said, I really can't share with you, but if you knew what I know, you might feel differently. And so I think it was a lesson for people to step back and say, well, here's my tentative conclusion. Let's research a little more. The other case was a fellow who had reached an agreement with a young guy, and he was going to transfer his daughter to her. And they actually found the contract on a piece of cardboard in terms of what the terms of the agreement would be. And the would-be groom reneged, and so dad went to the cops to report him, and of course he was arrested on the spot. And so you have these challenges with people coming to the country and not fully understanding the consequences of their behavior. And sometimes cultural customs are stronger than possible legal consequences. You know, if you've been doing the same thing for 80 years and your great-grandparents have been doing the same thing for 200 years, you know, why would you do anything differently? And so that's the challenge, to say, look, over here, here's the deal. You're going to get locked up, and, you know, your family needs you, blah, 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 blah. So what we have, I'll tell you about the most satisfying case I've had so far. It was a gentleman from Guanajuato, my dad's state in Mexico. He had been technically in deportation proceedings for 18 years. You know, they keep postponing it. Right now, the immigration court is backlogged over 1 million cases. And so a lot of times you'll have a hearing date and you're preparing, and then they reschedule it. He had a lawyer in Sacramento, and I said, well, it's up to you. If you want to terminate that lawyer and hire me, I can help you. And I did. And a year later, we were in court, and you have under 3 hours to convince the judge that this person should be able to remain in the country. And he had a big fan club at the hearing. He worked at Tanimura and Antle, TNA. So he had a lot of coworkers there, young and old. His mother was there with a cane and a rosary. And it was just a very, very moving hearing. And we had to take several breaks because the gentleman, while he was on the stand, began to cry because everything was so emotional. And then the judge, they don't always render a decision on the spot right after the hearing, but in this case, she did. And she said, you need to thank your lawyer. She did a great job. And I will be suspending your deportation and deciding that you should get a green card. And I turned around and just did that whole gesture that you put a finger up to your lips and you go, shh, because I knew everybody was going to explode. So I turned around, shh. And then we got out to the lobby, and everybody was crying and this and that, you know, and Mom was giving me her rosary and giving me a blessing, la bendición, and all this stuff. And it was just, I really changed somebody's life in that hearing. Of course, I stayed up till 2 a.m. preparing the petition that was over 300 pages, and I just worked my tail off, you know, but when I'm in, I'm in. And if I'm out, I'm out. But,
and how did that make you feel? Can you, because I'm tearing up, Blanca, so how does that make you feel to affect people's lives in such a wonderful way and change their lives?
Right. Well, what I've learned along the way, because I've been processed now, I used to cry on the spot, but now I've learned that you have to park your emotions. Like, I'll cry later while I'm watching a Lassie movie or something. I said, you know, I can't cry right now. I'll save it for later. But of course, I was thrilled. I was very excited. I felt, you know, my mother was such a productive person that she always wanted us to be useful. You know, don't be useless. No seas inútil. That's what she would always say. And so we've grown up with this productivity culture, which is very compatible with how America was back then. You know, you're supposed to produce. And so I felt very satisfied that I had produced such a wonderful result for this guy. And he will forever be grateful to me. And I just felt so much more useful than I did in tax, because tax law, the way I was practicing it was saving people money, which is good, but it's not like giving people freedom. And that's what this gentleman had. I mean, he was basically, quarantined for 18 years. He couldn't go anywhere. And I said, okay, now you get to go to France, but you can start at the Paris Hotel in Vegas. It's closer, cheaper, whatever. I told him, just ease yourself to it. Don't go to Turkey or something. No, but well, of course he was just wanting to go to Mexico. I mean, thank God his mother was here, but he just wanted to go to Mexico and see so many relatives he hadn't seen in so long. And so you have just about less than a month ago, as consul, I attended an event in Soledad out in South Honorary County, where several older folks came. We call them abuelitos, grandparents.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who haven't seen their families in 20, 30 years, because the families here, they can go to Mexico. Can I go to Mexico? Sure. How are you going to get back in? That's the problem. It's not leaving, it's coming back in. And because they can't come back in, they hadn't seen their grandmother or their mother. And so that was a very emotional gathering too in Soledad. And so immigration, let me go into, do we have time? Yeah.
We have time. You have time.
We have a recent Biden executive action that, of course, the court in Texas, of course, and I'll say this just as a matter of fact, the Republicans challenged it. And so it's called Parole in Place for spouses of U.S. citizens. It's on hold. It's not closed up. It's on hold. And so we can submit applications, but the government cannot approve any at this time. And we have to see how it evolves. And people are asking me, well, should I gamble and spend money on this because the government fees are $580? And for the Mexican folks, I say, this is the first time you've been able to go shopping anywhere for anything. You haven't been able to spend on anything because we've had TPS, temporary protected status, for so many countries: Ukraine, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Palestine, Iran. But no Mexico. It's just outrageous. The Mexicans have gotten nothing in so long. And this is the first time that some Mexicans may, I underscore, may benefit if we survive politically the program. And the program may obliterate. But I say it may be your best gamble for a while. I don't know. It's up to you. And I discuss the risks and the benefits. If they're already in the system, it's not like ICE all of a sudden finds out about you. They already know you're here for whatever reason. And so that's been very emotional because people don't know what to do. On the one hand, they are very, very enticed into applying because it's the first time they've been able to apply for anything. And I'm talking decades. And now they can, but there's no certainty behind it. I mean, much like DACA. This is kind of a spousal DACA. And it's very difficult. And people, when they're emotional, they don't hear everything you say. You say things, you put in the qualifiers, and you have to be very responsible because people will want to hear you say that for sure you're going to be approved. When I've told them, and I've got it in writing, of course, so later on they don't say, but you said, you may not be approved ever. We don't know. The program may not survive. But at least there's been some movement. At least there's if you want to call it a teaser, I'm willing to put your best foot forward and see if you get approved down the line. Let's just submit the best application we can if you're willing to take that chance. And some people say, no, I don't want to do it. I say, fine, no problem. Now, the big benefit of this executive action is that people who have had more than 1 year of illegal presence in the country usually need to get a waiver. It's taking 3 to 5 years to have a waiver approved. it takes a while to prepare the waiver package. And then if you're approved, then you can go to Juarez, for the Mexican folks, or to your home country's consulate location and have an interview. And if everything goes well, then you can be approved and come back into the country. But it's a risky venture that many people don't want to undergo. And so this would avoid that. You don't have to, if the program survives, if you're approved, then you don't have to go to your home country to finish out the adjustment process. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why there's so much opposition by certain folks in the country to it. Any kind of benefit by certain folks will be called amnesty, and it's not amnesty. There's a criminal check. There's scrutiny if you've been deported or you're subject to a deportation order. And so it's not some blanket. I mean, this is how politically you sell opposition to it, by saying, oh, it's amnesty. Well, it's not. I mean, technically inaccurate. It's inaccurate to say it's amnesty, but it suits certain people's political purposes to label it as such.
Blanca, have you been to the border?
Many times at
Yes.
3 a.m. you can buy anything. Yes. The border, yes. We used to live in Tijuana when I was a very small child. My parents moved us down there. My dad was starting a business, and then we ended up back here in Watsonville at a dairy farm. So yes, the answer is yes.
Have you
You
been
mean recently?
recently? Yes.
No, not recently. Not to see all the horrific crowds of people and everything else. But I mean, that's why people have gotten temporary protected status, because they need to have that picture changed, so there's not hordes of people going to the border trying to get in. Mm-hmm.
Because that's, again, we're speaking, so this is Bettina speaking. I see these pictures of families at the border and children at the border, and it just, obviously it's sad and extremely, I mean, seems to be no answer. I'm thinking intelligent people should, this is my naive perception, that there should be an answer, so mothers aren't dangling their children over a wall in hopes that someone else can give them a better future or dinner or some clean clothes. Then that, in a essence, Blanca, to think that there's some magic here in America, that we Americans, I will put it that, have some magic that we can gift, that you would literally give your children, any nationality, to us in a sense of salvation. What have you heard mothers, parents express that type of feeling to you?
Well, sure, that they crossed the border to begin with, but to go back to your question, or to your predicament or confusion, I think that we need a humanitarian solution, and a large part of this country has lost its humanity. It's more politically driven than humanitarian driven. And so until we can get people to be a bit more compassionate and to acknowledge the value of immigrants to this country, we're not going to come up with a solution, because there's too much resistance and there's too much villainization of immigrants, as if, and it's such a deep insult to those of us who had parents who were not always in legal status and who contributed tremendously to this country. And to have people now saying that basically they're trash and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's so ill-founded. It's not true.
Well,
And
of
by the
course,
way-
and I'm of a race that naturally, for decades and will continue to be, a negative stereotype will always be there, whether it's on the surface or below the surface or over the wall. So, yes, of course, Blanca, more humanitarian feelings across the board is needed. And solutions are needed.
Well, but nobody's talking anymore. Let's go back to the beginning of this program. Is anybody listening? Is anyone talking? Or is it just sort of this 3,000-year-old quote unquote strategy of attacking and chaos and conflict? And that's all you see. Those are the examples we have on our screens. And people are relying more on screens than personal conversations. And so they'll believe some stranger from the other side of the world who's saying, you need to go out there and fight and attack, more than your neighbor who says, can we have a chat? How about some coffee? Nobody's interested. Nobody's interested really in solving problems. We need problem resolution. We need conflict resolution. We need negotiation. And too many people are just, you see it everywhere. Aggressive behavior. It's just, that's the only option. And it's so not creative. To me, it's like, really, you don't need to be very smart to be aggressive. That's instinctual, like an animal can be aggressive. But what about using our minds and using our hearts to come up with a better solution and talk about it openly, discuss it? Nobody's going to shoot you for your views. Let's just discuss it. And I just don't think there's enough interaction. When I try to clarify something just at the grocery store or something, oh, you're so rude. I'm just asking a question, And so people are so resistant now to any kind of analytical thinking, any kind of profoundness. We're promoting superficial thinking. We're promoting complacency. I really don't want to research it, so I'll just hate you. Oh, okay. Well, that's the easy route. Go for it.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Not putting in the effort to broaden your mind or have a guest on your show that's so involved and intelligent in so many different ways, and being brave enough to ask some questions that are on my mind and get good answers. But we're going to take a short break, Blanca. Okay? And we'll be right back here on Bettina's Buzz.
The votes are in. Chef Ben here from Back 9 Grill and Bar at the Easy Off Past Tempo exit. We are so proud of our food and our service and your votes. Back 9 has been voted Santa Cruz County's best burger and best happy hour in the good times. You've heard me talking about our house ground burgers. It's time for you to come and try one so you can taste the juicy difference. And what makes our happy hour the best? You have to come and experience it yourself. See you at the 9.
When you need help managing the legal affairs of your family, call on the Angel.
Hello, I am attorney Angel Hess, and I am ready to help. Whether you need a prenuptial agreement or divorce settlement, need child or spousal support, or are facing custody issues or visitation rights, I will help you. I have more than 7 years' experience as a family law attorney.
When you need help, call on the Angel. Attorney Angel L. Hess at santacruzlegal.net.
You need a clean, pleasant space to conduct business, but you don't want the burden of a long, expensive lease. Your solution is Satellite Co-working and Digital Media Studio on Soquel Avenue. Satellite offers private offices, meeting and conference rooms, even co-working by the hour, day, week, or month. Schedule a tour at satellitecoworking.com. Mention Santa Cruz Voice for 20% off your first reservation.
Treehouse dispenses not only the finest cannabis products, but information to those who want to know how to use cannabis for maximum benefit. Hello, I'm Jenna. If you would like to know how best to use cannabis, ask your friends and neighbors at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 Soquel Drive. If you're 21 plus with a valid ID, no appointment is necessary and the information is free. Order online at ourtreehouse.io and pick up at our drive-thru. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Bettina's Buzz here on santacruzvoice.com. And we're running out of time, which is, I always love talking to Blanca. On the line with us is Blanca Zarazua. She's been awarded in 2018. I was there. I was happy to see you get your award, Blanca, from the ACLU, the Northern California Monterey County chapter. And she was honored for her work supporting immigrants and immigrant rights. Thank you for all your hard work, Blanca.
Well, thank you. It was particularly wonderful because Secretary Leon Panetta had received the same award years before, and he presented me with the award. And my mother sat next to him, and my mother used to pick walnuts with his father. So it was just
Quite the
circling back.
conversation.
Yeah, it was just okay. I mean, I think we know each other. It's been a few years. No, it was just a tremendous honor, and I hope other people support the ACLU and other organizations that are doing their best to try to get us to participate in democracy.
What do you hope for all of us with the upcoming election? What are some of your hopes will happen to improve things in your office and for helping the rights of people who need help with their immigration status or their immigration rights?
Well, I think we have to set the example and vote. And so many people, I don't understand why there's not more of a push for mail-in ballots, because I haven't voted at the ballot place in years.
I do mail-in ballots.
No, I know, but people, well, I don't know, and I've got other things to do, and it's this and that. Don't make excuses. Just get a mail-in ballot, and you're done. And so I don't understand how it has to be election day that you cast your ballot. It doesn't. And so if you are so seduced by convenience, do the mail-in ballot. And then I think it's such an easy way to confirm that you are pro-democracy, not one candidate or the other, that you believe in democracy and you're doing what you can to promote it by voting. And there's too many people who make excuses for not registering, and then when they register, they don't go and vote. And then if they have to go and vote, they should have planned for the next time and done a mail-in ballot. So I'm hoping for broad participation, because it will make the voting process, something that becomes a personal family tradition, just like other things. Why can't this be, everybody's out there buying their pumpkins already, and it's over a month away, and they're going to rot if you cut them now. So I don't get it. People are so adamant about holidays and this and that. How about a voting holiday? How about making that a family tradition? And making it part of your culture for future generations within your family. But that's okay. I guess cutting up a pumpkin is more important.
Well, you've inspired me, Blanca. That's what we're gonna do. My mom, Gloria, Cerna, and we're gonna vote together our mail-in ballots. Well, we don't mail them. I go to the library, the Marina Library, and drop them off. But yes, we're gonna make, especially this election, we're gonna make it a tradition.
Good, because there's so many traditions which maybe need to be discarded, but there are new traditions that you can incorporate into your family life, into your personal life. And if voting is not one of them, and you can, how about becoming a U.S. citizen? You don't know how many clients I screamed at saying, you guys need to get married, you guys need to become a U.S. citizen, one or the other spouse. And now they blew it. If they weren't a U.S. citizen for this new executive action, if they were not a U.S. citizen and they were not married by June 17th of this year, they're out. And people came, oh, can I get married now? Sure, but it's not going to help you.
It's not going to do you any good now.
No, people just put it off. But not getting that pumpkin, that's urgent. So I don't understand people's priorities. Like, whatever, fine, go ahead, go get the pumpkin and don't vote.
Because it keeps you from dealing with the real things. I mean, it's easier to focus on a pumpkin than people's rights and other people's happiness and what's happening in our country and people being treated inhumanely and children being defiled and hurt and injured, and women, I've always said women and children, we universally suffer the most when things aren't going well. And so yeah, getting a pumpkin. I mean, I get the pumpkin to try to distract my mind, but that doesn't always help. See, that's you got to get the pumpkin, but yeah.
Well, you have to be courageous and responsible as a citizen, as a member of society. And it's not all about getting the latest iPhone and all this other distracting stuff. Everybody's into stuff. I'm so not into the stuff. It's never been about the material goods. I mean, my mother and I used to clean homes that were $1 million or multi-million-dollar mansions. And I didn't say, oh, I'm going to have one of these when I grow up. That wasn't it at all. I mean, it was never that. It was about dignity. It was about social justice. It was about not shaming parents. I mean, it was about all these things that are so much more enduring than the latest gadget and everything. And everybody's so seduced by all that stuff. And I've said that American culture is based on consumerism. It's like if you don't participate in buying something, then you're not really a part of this society. And it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to buy to feel like you're a member of society. It's okay if once a month, you go to Costco and buy whatever you need, and that's okay, and that's it. And not all this other, the latest trendy, whatever. Oh, please. Like I say, I've got a story. Call me when you recover. Call me when you recover.
Call me when you get over the latest gadgets and stuff.
Yeah.
And we've had some great conversations in Salinas and going out for lunch. I always loved going to lunch with Blanca, and she'd give her opinions about the fellow people in the restaurants. And I was just always enjoyed learning from you, Blanca, and your humility. You're an extremely humble woman.
Yes, because there are people who don't have as many accolades as I do, and they act like they own the town. And by the way, we're not in Manhattan. Simmer down. When it comes to certain guys who are that way, I call them roosters without feathers. They come in acting like they know everything. I feel like saying, well, then get out of here if you know everything. You don't need me. I'm sorry, I don't have a mustache, and I have no credibility.
And I don't like stilettos. You don't wear stilettos, do you?
No.
So
okay, I don't.
And
I don't have heels or makeup to think. Okay, my brain's the same.
I don't need makeup to think, or a fancy dress. Blanca doesn't need those things. So in the 2 minutes that we have left, Miss Blanca, is there anyone in particular, staff or anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to?
Oh, well, my mother is still alive. Viva Jalisco. And my father, he's still around. I visit him all the time at the cemetery. You take on a different dynamic when your parent dies in terms of how you interact. You continue interacting, but it's just a different way, and everything that they've touched remains alive.
Yes.
And so they will always be my heroes.
Yes. Our parents will always be our heroes, especially our fathers, yes. Especially my father.
Parenting now because the kids can't compete with the parent's cell phone. The cell phone, so you better wait. Little kid. I seen them. They're tugging at the mom's dress saying, mommy, wait a minute. And she's like, sending a light to a stranger in China. That's more important.
But what is important, we'll remind people in our last seconds to get out and vote. Remind people to vote and to pray for peace.
Yes.
And to appreciate your families and the good things and to keep a human heart.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Save your soul. There are too many lost souls out there, and they think that a screen is going to revive them. Why do you think we have so much mental illness? Because too much screen time.
Too much screen time. And what happens when the screen goes dead?
They're useless. They have no identity.
No identity.
It's too much time. CREAM. Too much screen time, too.
Check out, remind people to check out your social medias and your website. Blanca, thank you.
Take care.
Have a good day. Thank you for listening.
Bye.